So it turns out the butt of every liberal's joke and the target of every anchor's ire, the Tea Party, was right. They were persecuted, not just by the media, but by the media's darling, the Obama administration. How hilarious that the side screaming witch hunt was exercising one of their own. The real fun now will be watching those in the media circle their prompters. The usual suspects, SNL, Colbert, and Stewart, performed so well on Benghazi. I wonder how they'll finesse this one. Imagine one nationwide eye roll that might very well tip the West into the ocean. It's time for the pros to get involved. Like the years prior to an intervention, we've watched the self-destruction up close. It's time to bypass the enabling media and get Obama some help. Because the wheels are coming off, but the cart's our country. Remember when I asked who pushed the video? It's now who pushed the Tea Party, and the answer's the same. It's a leader who knows what he can get away with. But it leads to another question. Why drop the IRS revelation in the heat of Benghazi? It's an old ruse. If there's a crime scene in the living room, set fire to the house. Look, the U.S. cannot afford to have a president adored by the media. Look how much they willingly accept. As they mock the victims, incompetent reigns. It's not the president's fault, it's the press. They need impeachment. And don't worry about their livelihood. They'll just find jobs at Obama's White House. That at least when they lie, it'll be right there in his loving, loving arms. Bob, this has got to be incredibly mind-blowing for you.
Well, it is. Let me tell you why. I mean, I having been the subject of my group back in the 70s being targeted by the Nixon White House and Internal Revenue Service for exactly this same thing. It was outrageous and frightening then. It is outrageous and frightening now. Let's keep this in mind. These allegations surfaced in 2010 by some of the Tea Party groups and some others. This is not new information. The thing that really disturbs me is Ms. Lerner, who is at the Treasury Department and is responsible for these organizations. These are tax-exempt organizations, and there were a lot of questions about whether they were going over the line and using their tax-exempt status and to get involved in the political campaign. That notwithstanding, she said she didn't know anything about it until she read about it in the press, and yet she was briefed on it in 2011. But I don't think for the minute the President of the United States had anything to do with it.
Andrea, do you believe it was just some local flack? They always blame it on a flack.
I don't think a local flack would just do that on his own, unilaterally making the decision. But again,
well, she's not a flack.
But again, I mean, even Joe Klein of Time Magazine, he makes the limp argument that, oh, everybody does this. But he does say, more and more it looks like, the Obama administration is incapable of running the government at the same time they're trying to vastly expand it. But I will say this confirms every suspicion of conservatives. Greg, you said the Tea Party was vindicated, and the week before, conservative media was vindicated. All of his enemies. And if you would have said something like this, which a lot of people did, they would have called you wacko and paranoid and crazy. And now, you're right.
Yeah, I'm getting out my tinfoil hat.
Very good. You know what this does prove? It proves that everything that we've been, or some of us have been saying, that the Obama administration has declared war on anyone who disagrees with them. So conservatives are the enemy, not radicalism. Conservatives are the enemy, not a jobless economy or a struggling middle class. It's the conservatives. And they're willing to use agencies, the thuggery of an agency like the IRS, to perpetrate this war on conservatives. Bob,
that's going to look. When you say they are willing to use it, then
true. I'm making a
you're
leap. I'm making an early leap, but you know what? I made the early leap in Fast and Furious, and it was right. I made the early leap in Benghazi. It turns out it was right. I'll go ahead and make a leap.
Okay, then who's going to win the Preakness? Can you tell me that?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm not sure who's going yet. I'll figure it out.
Look, the idea. Do I think that first of all, these things are the decisions to give tax-exempt status are sent out to Cincinnati office of the IRS. I find it surprising that somebody in politics said, look, these things are causing us a lot of trouble, these groups, they're putting ads on.
Who?
I don't know. But your assumption that this is something directed from the White House, I think, is a leap of thread. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any evidence to indicate that. Until I do, I think that you're grasping at straws.
Dana, when you look at the media, aren't they almost becoming like the disappointed parents sitting in the audience, in the auditorium, as their precious snowflake fails? They can't blame it.
They don't even realize how they're protecting him. So let me give you an example. EPA is responsible for lots of different things, many things, and they have rule makings and things that they have to do. I remember one in particular on mountaintop mining. Okay, so EPA makes the decision. The headline in the Washington Post and everywhere else, AP, was not EPA makes decision. It was Bush administration, White House makes decision. When it comes to President Obama, it's like he's totally absolved from running the government. So it doesn't say Obama administration targeting Tea Party groups. They're very careful to write the IRS, which is an independent agency, which has nothing to do with the White House, blah, 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 is accused of. So from a pure media perspective, it can be very frustrating because Republicans, you do have to work harder. I do recommend one thing to the White House. They should not underestimate the depth of anger and disgust across the board about this. And their hopes of winning the 2014 House back from the Republicans are over.
Yeah, I was just going to say the political point on this is enormous. If this isn't the greatest uniting factor for conservatives, Republicans, independents who are suspicious of Obama's big government about to take over immigration, this is going to do it. Don't blow it.
I'm waiting for the email that surfaces that says that comes from the White House or someone in that area to the IRS saying, hey, you know that scandal? Break it now.
That's
All right.